A warm welcome to Anuradha Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to talk with Penny Farrow on a beautiful topic. But before that, a big thanks to all of you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your suggestions and your questions there. If you haven't subscribed to us, do that and do press the bell icon so that you can get the updates ASAP. The court is all yours, Penny.
Okay, so today I decided to, in a way, go back to the basics. You know, there's so many fancy ways of predicting, right? But sometimes the real foundation of a prediction might not be as properly attended to. It gets lost in all the razzle-dazzle of some of the fancy techniques. So I thought that I would do this particular topic. I call it Anatomy of a Prediction, the peanut butter sandwich. So I don't know how popular peanut butter sandwiches are in India or around the world, but they were staples of our lunchbox. So this is before the days that everybody got fancy with like lettuce roll-ups and, gourmet delicacies, displayed on like a single piece of bread or something. No, in your lunchbox, you wanted a sandwich. So the idea was a sandwich, honest sandwich, was composed of two pieces of bread with some kind of comfort food in between. And very often the comfort food was peanut butter and jelly if you were really lucky. So to call that a sandwich, if it was missing any of those components, it was just non-negotiable. So peanut butter sandwich was the king of the lunchbox when I was going to school. So how on earth does this relate to Jyotish or to prediction? Exactly. So that's what we're going to explore, right? So in case you're wondering, did you tune into the right podcast? You wandered into the wrong lecture. So let me assure you that like a sandwich, there are three non-negotiable pieces involved in building a sturdy prediction. So, and they involve some of the very basic building blocks of Jyotish. So I'm certainly not claiming that there aren't other very accountable ways of doing predictions. That's what I started off saying. But this approach might be well within the reach of a lot of you. And also, even those that are more advanced, it's good to check in with this approach, even when you use, let's say, those flashier techniques. Okay, how are we going to relate a prediction to a peanut butter sandwich? So first of all, the astrological equivalent of a peanut butter sandwich is to look at a three-way confluence involving both static analysis and dynamic analysis. And how does that work out? Well, let's just take a look. So here are the ingredients for our peanut butter sandwich. So the patterns of the natal chart are static analysis. And we can think of that as the first piece of bread. So this is the ground zero of a prediction. You have to have the bread, because otherwise the sandwich just does not hold together. So understanding the blueprint of someone's life is the first slice of bread, and on it we can build the other layers. So without knowing, what is what, Bhava Vichara, Yoga Vichara, on a static level, no way can we build a prediction. So next is the peanut butter. So the peanut butter becomes one aspect of dynamic analysis. There's going to be two aspects of dynamic analysis. Let's take a look here. And that aspect is the dasha. How life unfolds in an orderly way in accordance with the natal patterns that get activated over time. So it's kind of useless. I won't say it's useless, but when you look at a chart and all you're doing is static analysis, this may not relate to your client at all, whoever it is. So you're making, some observations of something that wouldn't happen until they're 80 years old. So they're not going to relate to that. Therefore, it's very important that when you deal with someone, even in just natal chart analysis, not just prediction, that you're relevant to where they are now. And that relevancy sits with the dasha lord, the graha that's on the center of the stage. And that actor is speaking out everything they're representing in the chart. So this is the idea of dasha bhuktis, and the peanut butter, we could say, is the main actor on the center of the stage. And they have that pivotal role in bringing forward specific parts of the story of the prarabdha karma at just the right moment. So we can think of the jelly as the bhukti lord, right? So the two together are very, sometimes we make predictions just on the basis of the dasha lord, but it's much more specific if we bring in the bhukti lord as well. So they bring forward this active part, the static analysis and the dynamic analysis. However, that's not a good sandwich, because I'm telling you, if you try to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on one slice of bread, it's a mess. You just get all messy. You need to glue it all together. So the obligatory top slice of bread, what would that be? That would be the gocha. So this is three-way confluence. If you see something in the natal chart, some combination, something, the dasha and bhukti are running of the grahas that are involved in that combination in the natal chart. And it's perfected by a transit. Then you have a prediction. Three-way confluence. So it's obligatory. The gochara is and I'm sure all of your listeners know, is the ever-shifting cosmic kaleidoscope, which creates an endless display of patterns that interact with the native's unique natal configurations. So, sometimes there's a little bit of, or more than a little bit, of misunderstanding that some transit is happening and that everybody in the world is going to be affected by that. No, that is not true. So you might have noticed that if Mercury is retrograde, the planes aren't falling out of the skies. A lot of people are buying computers and having no problem with it. So this is a misunderstanding. The gochara is effective when it's interacting with a pattern that's already there in the natal chart and bringing it forward. So we need this confluence, the three-way confluence. For things like mundane astrology, maybe some gochara has a more global effect. But for natal astrology, we need to have more than Venus is going retrograde or this or that or whatever. Okay, so like most Sanskrit words, gochara is very evocative. Go refers to anything having to do with cows or cattle. And so poetically, it's the idea of the herds of the grahas are impelled to move, just like the herds of cattle are impelled to move. But also, since they radiate light, go also means light, and shara means to wander. So there's kind of this retinue of grahas that are constantly moving through the heavens, and we observe them because of their light. So all three of these are obligatory. Okay, let's put this to work, this idea. So to illustrate the peanut butter sandwich, I'm going to use a particular gochara methodology that's very clear and accessible. And it zeroes in on the transits of key grahas. And the key grahas would be the Lagna Lord, transits of the Lagna Lord, very important, and the current dasha bhuktis. So as I'm saying, we have this, as I've already said, but I'll put forward a saying that we have. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I don't know if you have this equivalent in India, but if you have the ear of a pig, you're not going to make that into a silk purse, right? So in other words, it's not a sound practice to base a prediction solely on what a gochara pattern indicates without verifying that such a pattern or an outcome might be potentiated in the natal chart. And that the current gochara will trigger what the natal inclinations are already, or indications are already there. So let's settle on that. Okay. So the native that I'm going to use is a very well-known native, hopefully to everyone. And we're going to look at a particular event, and even not just the go chart of that particular event, but even just the dasha bhukti, both in the natal chart and then what it might portend when that dasha bhukti runs. So if you don't recognize her, this is, of course, Taylor Swift. I think everybody knows who Taylor Swift is, right? So one of the first things to say is that in Astro Databank, there isn't always the surety of this birth chart, but many Jyotishis have worked on this time. There is no question that this is the right chart. Nothing else can give the kind of life and influence and affluence and fame. If you play with every lagna, no way. This lagna has some unique, incredible yogas. And also given the dasha bhukti sequence, this is definitely her chart. So in fact, every Jyotishi that I respect also uses this chart, this Sagittarius chart. So question is, does Taylor have the ideal alignment of natal patterns, the appropriate dasha and or bhukti lord, and a transit that would fructify her natal potential in a big way for a major event in her life? So we know she's iconic. This is an overused cliche, but in this case, it's perfect. She is an iconic. Her remarkable life is foretold in a remarkable, equally remarkable destiny pattern. So Taylor, at the age of 13 years old, signs with RCA Records, 13 years old. A year later, she opts out of the contract because she doesn't want to sing other people's songs. What 14-year-old has the fortitude to turn down a contract from RCA because she doesn't want other people to sing her songs? This indicates a very strong ahankara, a very strong lagna lord. Then she signs with Sony as the youngest songwriter. She's actually very talented as a songwriter. She has incredible hooks in her song. She has a really good deal there, but she insists as part of the deal, no other singer can sing her songs. So that's extremely important. She doesn't want to sing other people's songs, and she doesn't want anyone to sing her songs. It's quite a developed personality for such a young person. So let's look at the first slice of bread. Let's look at the static potential in this horoscope. So the ability to manifest a destiny pattern is vital. We talked about this. In fact, Anuradha, we did a podcast on how important the captain of the ship was to navigate through life and to be able to make the lemonade out of lemons or to manifest the pearls that are already there. So the graha that is the captain of the ship is the Lagnesha. So let's look at her magnificent Jupiter. Why am I saying it's magnificent? You might look at it and say, I don't know about this Jupiter, looks kind of ordinary to me. It's not ordinary, it's retrograde. So retrograde planets tend to get, again, a sort of bad rap because there's certain shadings that retrograde planets have, but there are yogas built on retrograde grahas. Retrograde grahas get up the Shadbala ratings. They're very strong. So they're strong. They have a different they have a different quality of strength. They have a raw strength. They don't have the strength of dignity. So there's where the division is between a raw strength and a dignified strength that's Swarashi or Ucha. There's their dignified state, avastas. Retrogression doesn't have exactly that, but that doesn't mean it isn't powerful because retrograde planets are bright. You can see them. And what you can see in a chart will manifest. If that graha is visible in a 24-hour period, sometimes if they're born in the daytime, you're not going to see the retrograde planet, but at sunrise, sunset, then they're going to be powerful. So Jupiter not only has this retrogression, but it has universal principle of aspecting back to its own first bhava. And it's sitting there with a very bright moon. We'll talk about the yogas that that's going to make. And also, it has a powerful 1-7 Mahaparivartana yoga. And that Parivartana yoga is as if Jupiter spends time visiting its own bhava. So I always like to talk about Parivartana yoga as Mikasa Sukasa. My house is your house is my house. I'm going to go back and visit it. You're going to go back and visit mine. I'm going to make sure that you're watering my orchids. You're going to make sure that I'm taking care of your pets. We had this conversation about pets. So there's a strengthening of these two bhavas because of the exchange of the Parivartana yoga. Mahaparivartana, because the exchange is between positive bhavas. It doesn't involve trick bhavas. So that's a special category. And so Mercury already is strong. It's Digbala. Jupiter is already strong. It's retrograde. They're strong even before the exchange. So exchanging, making them even strong, giving them, so to speak, a virtual Hamsa Yoga or virtual Bhadra Yoga. Sometimes people speak along those lines. They are very powerful. Now, this combination of these four grahas, even with Moon as the Lord of the Eighth, is still other big yogas, because we get a Kesari or even a Gajja Kesari yoga here, we could say. And then all the permutations, we get a big Maharaj Yoga of the first and the 10th lords, the first and the 7th lords, Dharma Karma Adipati Yoga is very strong. Throw in Saturn, we start to get Dana Yogas. It's just almost endless with her. There's big yoga here, and then this is enormous yoga called a Bheri Yoga in her chart. So rare to have this yoga perfectly formed. So this isn't a class where I really want to go over all the yogas. It suffices to say that this is an empowered Lagna Lord, absolutely empowered. So we have the utilization. Now, as fate would have it, as the karma would have it, Taylor Swift starts her Jupiter dasha at just under 14 years old. She begins her Jupiter dasha. Note that the ruler of the first, making all these yogas, is now on the center of the stage. And the dasha of the Lagna Lord is about self-development and this ability to navigate through life. This is why she was able to say, I don't want your contract. I want to sing my own songs. I don't want your contract. I don't want other people to sing my songs. She knows what she wants, and she writes her own songs geared to a demographic that's her age, 14, 15, 16, all the tweeners. And what does she write about? She writes about the growing pains of being a tweener. And this big hit song about the boy in her math class that she's nuts about. And everybody goes, she writes from this very personal perspective, and her career takes off and there's no turning back. So that's the Dasha Lord that's come to center stage for 16 years at this pivotal point in life. So we have independent variables. We have the fact that Jupiter and Mercury are involved in yogas, and then independently, Jupiter becomes the Dasha Lord at this critical stage of life. Okay, we have a good slice of bread as the foundation in the static principle. We have a wonderful filling of peanut butter in Jupiter, the Dasha Lord. And we're going to explore a certain period of her life when she just zoomed to incredible because of a particular award. So we're going to look at a period of time. She was 21 years old, a singular event that happened January 31st, 2010, in which she's up for 4 of the top Grammy Awards: Album of the Year, Best Country Album, Best Country Song, Best Female Country Artist. Now, she has transformed now more to a pop princess, but at this particular time, that's what she was doing. So our bottom slice of bread, we already have the natal triggers. The peanut butter, she runs the seminal dasha period of Jupiter, and on that day, we also have the Bhukti Lord is Mercury. Of all the Bhuktis, we have the Bhukti Lord Mercury involved in these massive natal triggers that began at 13. Jupiter, this is the Bhukti Lord she gets. So she's got jelly. It's not just the peanut butter. She's got rose petal jelly or something really great. Partnering with Jupiter. However, and even if you want to go down to Pratyanta dasha, it's again Jupiter. She's running Jupiter, Mercury, Jupiter. Like, come on. How is this even possible? So this is another independent variable doubling everything that we already have. And then the top slice of bread, the transits. Shall we have a look? Let's do that. So what I did is I just filled in the key transits of Jupiter and Mercury. There are other key transits that were happening that also were very helpful for her, but I thought it would be good in the time we have to just focus in on this key transit. Can you believe it? At the time of this award, this huge award, she had, first of all, the dasha Lord Jupiter transiting her third house of writing and performance skills. But more important, that wouldn't cut it. It is aspecting its natal position. And when Graha by transit aspects its natal position, it's as if it recreates all the combinations, those natal combinations. All these yogas now get recreated by the activation of transiting Jupiter on natal Jupiter. It's really beautiful. And because we're dealing with a benefic dasha lord and a benefic bhukti lord, then everything comes out roses. Sometimes if it's a malefic, there are little thorns along the way. They might still get the success. But for her, it was a glide. So that rose petal jelly, the bhukti lord, look at that. It actually comes back to natal position. So if you weren't happy about Jupiter activating, you got to be happy about Mercury because it's totally activating everything. And any time a transiting graha is activating the lagna, that's also extremely important to figure in. So it's recreating all these yogas that Jupiter and Mercury are making together. Even combinations like Mercury and Moon, when they're in Kendras, I in fact recently did a podcast on grahas and Kendras. This is one of the big writing combinations, and Moon is almost full, and Mercury is first year strength. And with all due respect to Taylor Swift, because I find her charming and very dharmic with her fans. She's not like certain, I won't single them out, artists that, are horrible with their fans. She like has pajama parties, she has lotteries, pajama, not anymore, but initially. So she's charming and lovely, but her voice is not spectacular. She's auto-tuned all the time. If you actually hear her in person, not so much, but she's lovely. She's all of that. But her songwriting is what's especially spectacular because she writes all these hooks and conveys these lyrics and all of that. So this strong writing combination and third baba being strong, or at least a very good third baba, universal principle, and the Lord is very stabilized by these benefics, yada, yada. So, So all of this gets recreated. And so on that night, that particular transit that night, she winds up winning all of those awards, the youngest person that ever has. And that rockets her into history, not just into huge fame and pushing her career forward, but actually into history. So she makes music history by receiving 4 of the top Grammy Awards: Album of the Year, Best Country Album, Best Country Song, Best Female Country Artist, the youngest to ever win Album of the Year. So Album of the Year is beyond, country stuff. It's of all the albums, Best Album of the Year, youngest ever to win it. Voila, we have our peanut butter sandwich, and bon appetit, Taylor Swift.
it's beautiful. This peanut butter sandwich is something that all of us should definitely use while we are looking into the predictions, because each and every element is crucial and it is definitely wholesome, quite filling. So that's a beautiful presentation, and good to know how we can, superimpose things and come across a beautiful. Obviously, if the chart does not promise, you can't deliver. So the base is strong, the dasha is hitting at the right time, and what more, the transit is covering everything else. Beautiful, Penny, and very nicely put, very easily put for everybody to be hooked on and interested in learning this principle. Thank you so much, Penny. Thank you.
Oh, totally my pleasure. Thank you, Anuradha.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.